Hey, hey, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another Town Square Spotlight. We got a great episode for you guys today, and I'm always so excited to be able to talk about New York music. We have New York born and raised singer-songwriter artist with us today. They got their single, It's Hard to Stop, coming out June 21st, which, of course, is off the album Follow the Sound, which is coming out in September. A lot of fun things to talk about. With us today here on Town Square Spotlight, we have Morley. How are you?
Great, thank you. So happy to be here with you.
Absolutely. Exciting time for you, of course. You have your single dropping, you have the album coming out in the fall. That's very exciting. But one thing that I love talking to songwriters and upcoming stuff, I want to get behind the music. But before we get into the specific tracks and everything coming up, who is Morley? Who is Morley as an artist? Could you give us like a little background on what inspired you and what continues to inspire you with your music today?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. Well, like you said, I'm from New York. I'm born and raised in Manhattan and Jamaica, Queens. I grew up in a very international setting. I went to the United Nations School. I lived in Parkway Village. Those experiences of having friends from different cultures, different religions, different ethnicities. I would go to their homes and share their food and hear their music and hear and see how they pray. Thinking about it, it's like it really informs a lot about how I write and how the music comes to me and the collaborations I get to have. But they're all sort of, housed in this folk Americana sort of foundation. Yeah, so who I am, I'm also an artist that uses music as a tool for rehabilitation for trauma. I work with survivors from conflict zones, post-conflict zones, human trafficking, and war. I use creative writing as a tool for dialogue facilitation and conflict resolution when I'm working in those situations. I had a lot of experience working with youth and using music as a tool for healing. And also I'm a recording artist and I travel singing, love songs too. So that's kind of who I'm at, who I am and where I'm at.
I absolutely love that. No, that's terrific. And I feel you with that. Where I am in Poughkeepsie, I was really blessed with being able to talk and interact with a lot of people in a lot of different areas in town. And then when I went to college, I say I became not just a better cook, but better person altogether. Like had Russian roommate, Puerto Rican, Mexican roommates, and the Irish, the Italian, and we were able to bring everything together. And people always loved coming to our house for our apartment for food. But I think that also came out in just our personalities, and I'm a musician as well, so I think that affected all that. So I love hearing that with yourself. And before we get back into the single and into the album, I want to touch upon what you're talking about, helping the trauma victims and helping kids. I want to talk about that a little bit and more of what you do with that. I've always said music is truly the international language because it expresses emotions better than any other form of communication. And you are doing it on the forefront and helping people out with that. So could you dive a little deeper into the work that you do with the trauma victims, with children, and helping to express those emotions?
The work I'm doing now, like over the past 20 years, I've been working with different survivors of war and conflict. I've been to Rwanda and Poland, and I've spent time inside of in a retreat with Bernie Glassman, Bearing Witness retreat inside of Auschwitz with survivors from different genocides from around the world. And I help facilitate the music release at the end of that, as well as on Pine Ridge Reservation in the Black Hills.
Oh my God.
But the work with youth, that's now moved into sort of a new album, different album that I made with my husband, Chris Bruce.
Oh, really?
Who is also collaborating. We co-produced this album, Follow the Sound, and the single that we're going to talk about today. But we have this children's album called Story of the Sky. Story of the Sky focuses on our interdependence with Mother Earth and each other, and it's bringing those messages of calm and healing through those songs for youth, for little ones, from
Wow.
2 to 8 years old. So that's becoming, those songs are getting to be part of curriculum in different schools and their SEL emotional learning programs. Right now, I continue to work with survivors of human trafficking using creative writing to help with dialogue and help them to express what's going on within them. like you said, music it's the language of all of us. Not everybody is a musician or a singer that I work with, and it's so much fun to hear what comes from them and the sounds they produce. Maybe thinking they don't sound good when they sing, and then hearing themselves saying something they wrote is really powerful. Because for me, music helped to save my life. Art, self-expression, creative arts helped to save my life, and continue to do so in this time that we're in. It helps me tap back into my inherent gentleness. And there's so much aggression around us with everything that's happening with the climate, with human relations and war on the planet. It's just an important time to be creative and to have
Truly.
courage to be creative for everyone, no matter what they do, no matter if it's a professional musician or how they parent or how they show up for their neighbor. Being creative in those ways. It's all tied into me. For me, it's all one thing. That makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think that's amazing. And I love hearing the work that you're doing. And I think that's so important. So I want to focus on the single, of course. It's Hard to Stop. What is it that is hard to stop? What is this song all about? And how do you feel like it reflects the rest of the album?
This song is a stream of consciousness. Literally, I pressed record and just started singing this melody along with what Chris was playing on the guitar. We're married. We're sitting in our apartment looking out the window, and we live in a high floor in a Manhattan building, and we just saw those lights across the city. And you'll hear in the song, if you have a chance to listen to it, that it talks about like longing. It talks about the human condition. It talks about unrequited love. It talks about requited love. It talks about seeing glimpses of our highest loving possibility as human beings, and wanting that to be the most regular thing that we see, because it's the most natural thing for us to care for each other. So but it is sort of a sensual, slow, reflective song on the tenderness of the human condition in so many words. And it's also sort of romantic,
Yeah.
It's also like there's a sensual togetherness in it, in its longing. And it's cool because I don't know that I could have crafted it that way. It's just because it's a stream of consciousness / I guess improvisation, like lyrically. I mean, Chris played this. He's playing a sort of a pattern, and then he improvised off of what he played, and then I improvised off of what I sang vocally, and added the backing vocals and sort of highlighting different moments that happen in it. Yeah, and also I think that it's a calm feeling to listen to it. It calms me down to hear it. Now it was exciting to record. It was, I just was inspired by what happened between us, hearing, like, when we were just sitting, the song came into our living room. It was amazing when that happens. It's always amazing when that happens. It's like an old friend shows up.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh yeah, of course I know you. Oh yeah, I love you. That's how it feels when a song comes.
So was this intentional then? Like, obviously you probably intentionally hit record, but was it intentional to create what you created and now to put it out as a single in this degree?
No, not at all.
I love that. Perfect.
I think when we sat down, I was probably like, sometimes we just sit there and start playing. Just, I might be playing percussion or guitar, and he'll sit down, pick up his guitar or bass. And that particular night, I think I was feeling, what's the word? Just sort of flattened by what's going on in the world. And I started going into this, like putting it in first person. Because oftentimes I'll say, this is messed up and that has to change and you people that and those guys over there and them over. And so I was just like, it's hard to stop wanting things I put in first person. I ain't got, like, things like that. And yeah, and then it just went. I didn't think about it. It was a stream of, like, as an artist, you'll stream of consciousness, this free write.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like a free write, but came as a free song, like that.
That's amazing. I think that's so cool. There was actually a track that I worked on with a buddy of mine. We were just completely improvising, and we're like, holy, record this. It's like, this is something. And just, it was literally in that moment that we got it. And it was powerful. So that's impressive that you got that as well. So does the rest of the album represent this more authentic, genuine, and improvisatory nature? or is there a little more structure going on in the rest of the album? What can people expect once things are fully out in September?
Well, there's a vulnerability in the album that stays there that kind of links each composition, I think. This song is very vulnerable because it is a freestyle, like a free write. And so I think that's why I wanted to lead with it, because this is a time where I think that our power is actually in our gentleness and our vulnerability. Because I find like I realized lately I've been feeling that part of me, like sort of my vulnerability, bracing myself too much because of the news every day. And I actually don't want that to diminish in my life. I want to stay vulnerable and open and also aware of what's going on. So there's an awareness on the album about what's going on. And then there's a willingness to stay vulnerable within that. And the expression of collaboration between cultures and between the artists on the album, that the way forward is collaboration.
Beautiful. Honestly, you're right. It really is the collaboration, whether it is musically or culturally, whatever. It is so easy to become hardened in today's day and age. So to be able to promote that openness and authenticity is really important. You talk about the different cultures and the different styles that you're adding to this on this kind of Americana folk foundation. What kind of other sounds and cultures can people witness and celebrate within this album with you?
Well, there's a special guest, Tumani Diabate. He's from Mali. He's a kora master. A kora is a beautiful harp.
Yes.
The gourd and it's and so that was an amazing thrill to collaborate with him. And there's a song that we sing in the chorus is in Yoruba from Nigeria. My godfather was a Yoruba person and percussionist named Babatunde Olatunji. He was a great activist and artist. And I learned this song from being in his in the presence of his family. And it's a beautiful song that is now it's an old traditional, very short phrase that says "Thank you, Father." But it's not a religious song. It's thank you, sort of Father of all the paternal of the spirit of all life. And I was in the middle of writing that song is called "Where Are We," and that's going to be our last single before the album is out.
Cool.
It's a single, yeah, and that is so that has that presence, that cultural presence, and let's see. Oh yes, of course. Then there's the amazing special guest Arun Ramamurthy and Trina Basu, are Carnatic South Indian classical violinists, and they play everything, but they're playing this style of Arun Ramamurthy is playing this style of Carnatic violin on a song that's a cover of a Minnie Riperton song called La Fleur, and that's on the record too. So,
Nice.
I can think of right now so far, but maybe I'll remember the things. Yeah.
That's really impressive, though. And I love when all different variations and cultures come together, especially through music, and then you're able to discover and appreciate so much more that way. I think that's terrific. So when it comes to the single is out now. It's Hard to Stop. And the album, Follow the Sound, releasing September 27th. Where should people be following you to be up on all of your music and all of your releases?
Well, I love when people come to Bandcamp because that's a great way to support artists. In fact, I did a project. I spearheaded this project called Borderless Lullabies, and it's it's a fundraiser for KIND, Kids in Need of Defense Legal Fund. It's a pro bono legal defense fund that represents minors, unaccompanied minors in court. So when children are separated from their families at the border, especially like here, with ICE. These 2-year-olds are made to go and represent themselves alone in court. They don't even speak the language. And so these lawyers come and represent them. And I invited friends, and then friends invited friends, and it became this whole thing. And it's already raised like $40,000. And that's for the organization, goes directly to them. That's on Bandcamp as well. Yeah. So Bandcamp is great. Sorry. That's I always have to plug Borderless Lullaby.
No, you're good. That's great.
Yo-Yo Ma's on there, Meryl Streep, Esperanza Spalding, a lot of heavy hitters, beautiful hearts gave their pieces. I got a WhatsApp from Yo-Yo Ma, an MP3, an MP4, whatever, with his cello and piano that they recorded on tour in a hotel. He and his pianist to give to this project that
Wow.
so it's a special one. That one too, Borderless Lullabies. Borderless Lullabies. So Bandcamp, join me there, and then of course, you know, I'm kind of all the different, you know, sites of like platforms under Morley Music, because there's a lot of Morleys, and I haven't been very active of posting my sandwiches and coffees on everything on my social media, but I do exist there and I do check it out and post things there, especially now I'll be updating. So they're humble little, but it's all under Morley Music. Or
Morley Music.
.org is my website. It's just,
Yep.
you put the music, go find me.
And of course, all links and information will be in the description of this interview. So you don't have to go far. You'll be able to find everything. So that's going to be very nice. But you gotta love what it's meant to be a content creator these days. What you said is like eating a sandwich or something like that. It's like, it's true. You see it. But it's like, but when you get down to the music and you get down to the human spirit as you were doing, that breaks through. And that's really important. Morley, thank you so much for being here on this Town Square Spotlight. Before we wrap up, do you have any last little nugget that you want to express to the Hudson Valley listening audience?
No, just continue to take care of yourselves and each other, and support this beautiful station, and you know, keep music close to you, because it is a superpower to have in your life, you know, music. Yeah.
Amen. A superpower. Amen. I believe that. Well, Morley, hey, thank you so much for being here on this Town Square Spotlight. And again, for all those listening, check out all the links in the description of this interview. Again, I'm Connor. Glad we got to spend some time.